move on to the official inauguration. Mr. JOSHYJOHN, sir. Sir had graduated from St. Thomas College and earned advanced degrees in law and politics from Calicut, Mangalore, Mahatma Gandhi universities. He had practiced law for 7 years before joining the judicial service in 2000 and served as Munsif, judicial magistrate, sub-judge, and additional CGM across various districts in Kerala. He is recognized for leading Kottayam DLSA to national acclaim as Secretary of Legal Services Authority and currently a district judge and honorable and member secretary of Kerala Legal Service Authority. May I request Mr. JOSHYJOHN, sir, honorable member secretary KELSA, to do the honors.
President of today's function, Dr. Faisal KP, who is represented by Dr. Shanavas, keynote address by Mr. Shabir Ibrahim, special address Dr. Saroja Ma'am, respected participants, dear students, faculty members, and all who are gathered here. I am very happy to be a part of this program, and KELSA is always participating with this college and all support from this institution. The theme for International Day for Women for this year is Inspire Inclusion. Inclusion in workplace requires respect and safe environment for any individual as a matter of right. Constitution of India lays down these basic rights under Article 14, 19, and 21 that guarantee gender equality and human dignity at workplace. In 1997, the Supreme Court of India, in response to a public interest litigation by women's rights groups led by Shakti, laid down Vaishakha guidelines. The judgment laid down the basic definition of sexual harassment at workplace and provided guidelines to deal with it. The court also defined sexual harassment as including such unwelcome, sexually determined behavior, whether directly or by implication, like physical contact and advances, a demand or request for sexual favors, sexually colored remarks showing pornography, or other unwelcome physical, verbal, or non-verbal conduct of sexual nature. The court recognized that where any of these acts is committed in circumstances and where under the victim of such conduct has a reasonable apprehension that in relation to the victim's employment or work, whether she is drawing salary or honorarium or voluntary, whether in government, public, or private enterprises, such conduct can be humiliating and may constitute a health and safety problem. The court noted that it was discriminatory when a woman has reasonable grounds to believe that objecting to sexual harassment would disadvantage her connection with her employment or work, including recruiting or promotion, or when it creates a hostile work environment. Thus, sexual harassment need not involve physical contact. Any act that creates a hostile work environment, be it by virtue of cracking lewd jokes, verbal abuse, circulating loud rumors, etc., counts as sexual harassment. Creation of hostile work environment through unwelcome physical, verbal, or non-verbal conduct of sexual nature may consist not of a single act, but of a pattern of behavior comprising many such acts. Following these guidelines laid down by the Supreme Court of India, enacted the first law on the sexual harassment of women workplace in 2013. Sexual harassment of women at workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act, called POSH Act in short. It is an act to provide protection against sexual harassment of women at workplace and the prevention and redressal of complaints of sexual harassment and for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. The three different types of harassments listed under the Act include verbal, visual, and physical. In response to the poor implementation of the POSH Act and three major incidents which took place in Kerala, Center for Constitutional Rights and Research and Advocacy, CCRRA, filed public interest litigation in 2018. The writ was submitted that there was blatant omission of setting up internal committee which is mandatory for any agency which falls within the definition of workplace under the Act. There are also attempts for silencing the victims by all fraternity, political organizations, and faith-based organizations. The petition emphasized the mandatory requirement of setting up of internal complaints committee in any organization, including private institutions with more than 10 staff members. 10 years hence, what the status of implementation of POSH in organizations, whether public or private domain, is doubtful. The redressal mechanisms laid down by law, internal complaints committee, where the women can judge their concerns, are these functional? If yes, are women confident enough to approach them and trust them for their impartiality and non-judgmental approach? Does the organizational culture allow clear communication by victim of abuse? How often does a working woman refrain from sharing her experience due to culturally ingrained self-belief that woman is always on the receiving end? Recent case of the wrestling champions, which made headlines for some time, has brought forth serious remarks from the Supreme Court about the inadequacies of the POSH Act and other impediments which are leading many women leaving their jobs. In a recent survey, it was revealed that 87% of women would be likely to leave their job if a gender-based scandal like sexual harassment takes place in the workplace. Gender stereotypes and cultural attitudes towards women in the workplace can contribute to the prevalence of sexual harassment. Women may be seen as an object or commodities rather than valued colleagues, which can make them targets for sexual harassment. Some social norms around masculinity and femininity may lead to sexual harassment. Sexual harassment may be trivialized by denying the behavior as sexual harassment or that had a consent, or by downplaying its seriousness. The way in which power is distributed between men and women is in the private or public spheres, including the workplace, is an important dimension of the gender inequality. A strong belief in stereotyped constructions of masculinity and femininity and rigid distinctions between the roles of people are consistently associated with the higher levels of sexual harassment against women. This influences how people believe proper or real men and women should think, feel, and behave. Male-peer relations, including in the work context, reinforce the stereotypical and aggressive forms of masculinity, are also associated with the higher levels of sexual harassment against women, as they can create disrespect and objectification or hostility towards women. The establishment of internal complaints committee, as per the law, is imperative for effective implementation of POSH. This is yet to be set up in many of the institutions in Kerala. The Act places an obligation on the employers to prevent and prohibit sexual harassment at workplace against women. The Ministry of Women and Child Development has produced a handbook on POSH Act, which details out information for the female employee to identify various situations in the workplace which can amount to sexual harassment. The book also gives guidance on the remedial measures, but these measures do require systems to be put in place. Kerala government also brought in a gender equality environment policy in 2014 to 20, laying down the principles which state shall follow. A decade into the existence, it's time to take stock of the impediments and challenges in implementation of work towards safer, inclusive workplace for women. Hence, it is time to rethink the implementation of POSH Act and its defective nature. Now, with these words, I officially inaugurate this program, and thank you all. Have a beautiful day.